Let's rock. Age hasn't slowed this saga down one bit. Before we get started and press onward with this review, be advised that this video will be spoiler free. However, there will be an additional video soon where I will go in depth about story plot points and other features that will venture well within spoiler territory. But for those that haven't experienced the story of the Phantom Pain yet, rest easy. This video won't ruin anything, but I will touch on the game's synopsis and overview. With that said, let's begin. Let's start by talking about characters and the story overview. Firstly, if you haven't played any Metal Gear title before this, and you are debating whether or not to give the Phantom Pain a shot, you're going to be helplessly lost. You won't have any clue what the heck is going on or who anyone is. Will you still have fun though? Absolutely. It's an incredibly fun game in its own right. But to get the most out of the experience, I'd strongly recommend either playing the previous entries or research the story online. The story really is the center stage in the series. I've been a huge fan of the series since the original Metal Gear Solid. But putting bias aside, I can easily say that there are both pros and cons of the Phantom Pain story, which I'll address in the next video. But for the most part, I was wholly satisfied with what the Phantom Pain delivered. It could have been a bit more refined, and made better in some places, but nothing is really without its faults. The Phantom Pain picks up where Peace Walker and Ground Zeroes left off, and you reprise your role as Big Boss, who is going by the codename Punished Venom Snake, which, let's face it, is a little over the top and pretentious even for Metal Gear. So for the sake of continuity, I'm just going to refer to him as Big Boss from here on. The beginning sequence is absolutely mind-blowing. Big Boss wakes from a 9-year coma only to be thrust into a nightmare scenario. The hospital turns into the 7th ring of hell as you're being pursued by supernatural entities and an entire hit squad of XOF soldiers that want your blood.
It's true. There are those who wish you would never woken up. You should be dead, but you're not. The wheels are in motion. Your enemies are everywhere. We must alter your appearance immediately. Otherwise, I fear you won't leave this place alive. Very good. Now, let's remove these bandages. Your face has healed nicely. To tell you the truth, these bandages were more for your protection, to hide you from those who want you dead. As of today, your name is Ahab. Forget everything. Your name, your past.
This isn't your typical mundane tutorial level. This is pure chaos. And after playing it, you may need to take a breather. There is genuinely more horror packed into this 40-minute sequence than in most survival horror games. It's a hell of a way to introduce you to the Phantom Pain, but considering that this game delves into some very dark and taboo topics, it's a perfect fit in the grand scheme of it all. Soon after, you're introduced to Shalashaska, also called Revolver Ocelot.
Identify yourself.
I am Shalashaska, also called Revolver Ocelot.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm very happy overall with how Ocelot is portrayed in the Phantom Pain. He's older and wiser than he was in Metal Gear Solid 3, but one thing I never thought I'd say about him is that he is almost always the voice of reason in this game. It's a side of Ocelot we haven't explored in any other title. We've seen him as an arrogant kid and as a lunatic old man. But seeing him constantly steer Big Boss in the right direction and offer sound advice is something unseen for this character. I must say, out of all the characters in this game, Ocelot has to be my favorite for these reasons. We've seen him develop so drastically over the years, and now we get to see yet another previously unexplored side. You're also introduced to Master Kazuhira Miller early on, and without spoiling anything, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. He's a complete dick! Which, again, is a side of this character that hasn't been previously explored, but wow! Just wow! The cheese is fully slid off of Miller's cracker in the Phantom Pain, and he is blinded by vengeance and fueled by rage throughout. All because of the events that took place in Ground Zeroes. As batshit insane as he comes off at some points, I must admit, I can empathize with him. If I had lost what he did, I may have gone a bit nuts myself. As a character, his motivations for revenge are firmly founded, and you can completely relate to what he's going through, which can be said for just about any character in the Phantom Pain considering the circumstances that drove them to this point. But what would the story be without a main protagonist? So let's talk about Big Boss himself for a moment. A lot of people were upset when it was announced that David Hayter would not be reprising his iconic role for Ground Zeroes or the Phantom Pain. I myself was upset, but admittedly, I'm a huge fan of 24 and Kiefer Sutherland's work. So when I found out he would be filling those huge shoes, my worries were laid to rest. Since if you've seen any of the later seasons of 24, especially Live Another Day, then you know exactly why he makes an absolute perfect Big Boss. Also, his voice matches the character so well that I honestly don't miss Hayter at all. Don't get me wrong, I still love Hayter to death, and no one else could have pulled off the vocals for Metal Gear Solid 1, but Sutherland nails the attitude and persona of the legendary soldier known as Big Boss. Okay, so the enemies in the Phantom Pain range from meh all the way to holy fucking shit, I'm terrified. This game doesn't waste any time introducing you to some ridiculously scary enemies called the Skulls. Believe me when I say that you haven't seen anything like these creatures in any other game. They give off an undead Terminator vibe. That is, if Terminators could teleport and run upwards of 100 miles per hour. Once they see you, you'd better be prepared for a tough fight. If you choose to run, they will pursue you viciously. Normal enemy soldiers can be unpredictable as well. They don't follow a typical pattern, and they adapt to your playstyle over time. So you prefer headshots? Well, guess what? Now they're wearing helmets. Like to deploy at nighttime? Well, too bad for you. Now they have night vision goggles and flashlights. The enemies in the Phantom Pain are incredibly dynamic and force you to adapt your playstyle accordingly. Who needs level of difficulty sliders when the game perfectly adapts your skill level? It's yet another way that the Phantom Pain breaks new ground. Now, about the gameplay, it's beyond anything I've experienced before it. This is stealth in open world redefined. Unlike previous Metal Gear entries, you're not punished too harshly for going Rambo and killing everything in sight, which I must say is so satisfying since the combat and firefights are intense and fun as hell. You have so many weapons and gadgets at your disposal, and getting a chance to go nuts with them in a wide open environment is just fantastic. But of course, you'll ultimately want to favor stealth and non-lethal solutions if you're aiming for S ranks on each mission and to grow your resources. Which brings me to Mother Base. Your Mother Base puts you in command of your very own private army, the Diamond Dogs, which is a game in itself. You get to manage so many aspects of Mother Base, it can be nearly overwhelming, except that it's made easy and streamlined by being able to tinker with every part of Mother Base right from your handy iDroid. Even when you're in the field deployed in the middle of a mission, you can change many features of Mother Base. For instance, changing staff rosters, develop new platforms, or even the color scheme. You yourself grow and expand Mother Base by using your Fulton Air Recovery device, which I must say is hilarious and does well to lighten up an otherwise dark game. You can Fulton just about anything, which includes vehicles, weapon emplacements, resource containers, but mainly soldiers. Your Mother Base is only as good as the people that run it, which means you'll have to expand your army by extracting lots and lots of soldiers. And by extracting, I mean kidnapping and coercing. No, seriously. Most of the soldiers that you extract from the field first end up in Mother Base's brig, which is a military jail. They are then kept there until they can be convinced to join the staff of Mother Base. That is somehow hilarious and creepy at the same time. Once you've reached Mission 22, you'll be given the opportunity to create an FOB, or Forward Operating Base, which is basically another Mother Base, except your FOB is online and can be invaded by other players. This feature is at times pure genius and pure annoyance. Your resources from your offline Mother Base are kept separate from your online FOB, but if you're trying to develop a crucial item or weapon for a story mission and you're relying on your FOB's resources, then all of a sudden you get successfully raided and lose those resources. Then trust me, it'll be hard for you to refrain from smashing your controller or keyboard. All is not lost, however, since you have every opportunity to steal your belongings back. After being raided, you'll be given the chance to retaliate, and there is no feeling more satisfying in this goddamn world than getting sweet revenge as you pick their base clean. To prevent constant intrusions, you can choose to develop a nuke, or several of them for that matter. Nukes are pretty hard to obtain. They require a ton of resources, but once you have them, other players will not be able to raid you unless they possess nukes themselves. Another new feature the Phantom Pain introduces to the series is the buddy system. You have the choice of deploying on a mission with a buddy who can help you in many ways. You have your choice of 4 buddies total that can all be found throughout the main story. My personal favorite is my furry little friend Dee Dee, or Diamond Dog. You can acquire him early on. He'll be just an adorable little puppy when you meet him. Just Fulton him back to Mother Base and Ocelot will train him into a badass pile of fur and murder. Dee Dee is unbelievably useful to the point of nearly game-breaking since he can detect and mark enemies from up to 100 meters away. You can also order him to kill, stun, or even injure enemies. Quiet is another buddy that does many of the same things that Dee Dee can do, but I just prefer my canine companion beyond all else. Speaking of Quiet, let's address the elephant in the room. Is she outrageously sexualized? Oh hell yes! Do I give 2 shits? Oh hell no! Sure, she has a reason to be half naked since she apparently breathes through her skin, but do I care that she's overly sexualized? Not at all. It's a video game, and I consider myself mature enough to handle this content without making a mountain out of a molehill. If you're offended by her, then that's your choice. Just play the game without using her as a buddy. Pretty damn simple, right? But out of all the dark subject matter that this game tackles, Quiet rates pretty damn low on my offended scale. There are some very dark moments in The Phantom Pain, but there are even some moments that even choke me up a bit. But overall, the story is beautifully written by genius storyteller Hideo Kojima. But is The Phantom Pain all that it could have been? In a word, no. In fact, many parts of The Phantom Pain were cut or changed, most likely Konami's doing by imposing strict regulations on the game and its development. It's becoming more and more clear why Kojima left Konami after the completion of The Phantom Pain. In its current state, this game has 2 chapters. However, there was actually supposed to be a 3rd chapter titled Peace that was removed from The Phantom Pain entirely. Some data mining fans unlocked some of the cutscenes from Chapter 3, which aren't completely finished and are noticeably missing some animations and graphical assets. After viewing them, I'm disappointed by the ending we were given, compared to the ending that we could have had. Again, don't get me wrong, I'm more than happy with the story and its conclusion in its current state. Could it have been better though? Abso-fucking-lutely. And there's proof, locked away in the game's files, that it could have been. Sadly, we didn't get to see the full story as Kojima envisioned it, but we got a glimpse of the full scale, and what we got is something I'll never truly forget. Normally, I don't rate games on a scale, but if I absolutely had to, then Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, for me is a perfect 10 out of 10. For any fan of the series, this is a must-own. Chances are they already own it without me having to tell them, but for those sitting on the fence and curious about whether to start with The Phantom Pain or not, please, I urge you to play through the earlier games first, or at the very least, brush up on the story so far. Metal Gear Solid is a series deeply rooted in its story above all else. Fans of the series mainly play it for its narrative-driven nature. Gameplay is usually just a fun bonus. However, in The Phantom Pain, the gameplay stands out just as much as the rich and deep story. If you go into The Phantom Pain with a good understanding of the story, it will be 1,000,000 times more rewarding than simply playing it just for the fun gameplay. The Phantom Pain closes the saga on a somber note and brings the story full circle. Sure, more could have been done to tie plot points together, but what we got was truly the magnum opus of the saga that concludes the dark history of the legendary Big Boss. I won't soon forget The Phantom Pain. With more than 200 hours into it at the time of this video, I feel I'll be revisiting it many more times to come.